explaining how we operate, but uh, that can give you certain inputs. You can look at certain best practices, a few insights, but largely if you could also ask questions, and if I can add specific value to you so that it can be more actionable for you, I think that would make this more useful for all of us. So Forge was started as a technology business incubator. We are a TBI by registration under DST. It's a Section 8 non-for-profit company. The name of the company is Coimbatore Innovation and Business Incubator. That's the legal name of the company. We got branded as Forge, and that's how we are known across the country. So until the presentation is up, I'll give a brief introduction. So Forge, when we started Forge, we looked at, the first thing we did is what is our focus area, right? Which is that segment that we need to focus, and where do we look at seeding and nurturing startups. So we largely chose the industrial deep tech sector as our focus area. So from day one, we were very focused on hardware products, product-based startups, more hardware engineering, emerging technology products, and largely startups who focus on providing solutions to industry. When I say industry, it could be healthcare, it could be defense aerospace, it could be oil and gas, it could be manufacturing, engineering, automobile, any industry, right? So we focus largely on industrial deep tech startup. So that's one focus that we chose for ourselves, and we started doing various initiatives around that. The major focus that we have given is more a knowledge-driven model to innovation and incubation. So the company which started as a technology business incubator is more today a knowledge consulting firm because of the methodologies, frameworks, models, processes, and systems that we have built. So we have moved from an incubator to an innovation platform offering knowledge consulting services to government, industry, and academia in the specific area of innovation and startups. So that's where we work. Currently, we are, a partner to Ministry of Defense, Ministry of Housing and Urban Affairs, the oil and gas industry at a national level. We work with a huge set of corporate partners across the globe, and help startups work with them, solve problems, and provide solutions. Currently, we are, I think you're visiting our center today in Coimbatore. So we are setting up another 6 centers in Tamil Nadu, which are going to be innovation and incubation ecosystems in the industrial, where the government is also looking at an industrial base. So Hosur near Bangalore and Sri Perumbudur near Chennai are going to be some of the 2 large incubation and innovation hubs, industrial innovation and incubation hubs, which will focus on startups, of course, but do a lot more thing to create an innovation platform in that ecosystem. In addition, we are also setting up centers in colleges, innovation labs and centers in colleges with government of Tamil Nadu. So we are currently working with 3 government engineering colleges and 3 government polytechnic colleges. So next 2 years we are looking at having around 9 facilities only in the state of Tamil Nadu, in addition to the national programs that we operate. So that's why I said we are no more an incubator, we are more a knowledge consulting firm who provides the solutions and frameworks in what we do. Okay, yes, the presentation is up. So what I thought is, since we are talking to colleges who are trying to initiate the incubation services, I thought pre-incubation could be a good bridge to talk about before innovation. I mean, it bridges innovation and incubation rightly. So I thought pre-incubation could be the could do justice to our conversation. So before we get into pre-incubation, why do you think we need incubation? What is your understanding of incubation? Why incubation? For the? Hmm. Sure. Sharing of ideas, okay. Okay, so why incubation? Since they are in budding stages, you need a support system, you call it incubation. I hope you mean that, okay? Any other thoughts? To provide financial aid for people who want to do business, who want to do their startups. Great. I wouldn't say anybody is wrong here, but if we can get into a little more of, we are looking at entrepreneurship, and the entrepreneurship that we are talking about largely is technology driven. I'll come to why I'm using, because I know I'm addressing a group of arts and science faculty, right? So largely the tech entrepreneurship that I'm talking about here is going to be more technology driven, and that's the reason I said that involves innovation, technology, venture funding. So that's the kind of entrepreneurship we are talking about. And this entrepreneurship is more science than art. We always have this debate whether entrepreneurship is an art or a science, right? There is a lot of myths and discussions. I'm not getting into this entrepreneurship education part of the conversation now. But entrepreneurship that I'm going to talk about, or what we look at in incubation, is this kind, right? An incubator is essentially a space that helps entrepreneurship of this type. The reason being, we know incubators, right? The general term incubator, the English word of incubator, which is normally used in hospitals to support premature babies, right? We don't put all babies born into an incubator. We only put certain types of babies born into an incubator. What are those kind of babies we put in the incubator? So in simple terms, for us to create a metaphor to this, certain vital parameters are not ready for an external self-support, right? There are certain vital parameters in that baby which is not ready for its own survival in the external real world. So you need a simulated environment to monitor them, to measure them, to provide them the required nutrition so that they can develop those vital parameters and become ready to be self-sustainable in the real world, right? Just put the baby to business today. So we are looking at businesses which need a space, which will have certain vital parameters to be measured. And what you do in the incubator is essentially put all the gadgets, it measures the vital parameters and understand what are the vital parameters that is not right for the baby, and then you provide the required nutrition. Finance could be one nutrition, right? But there are many things outside finance also that needs to have to be given to the baby. You don't put every baby. So all ideas don't need incubation. Only certain ideas need incubation, right? So how do we go about do it? How do we look at what? Essentially, in entrepreneurship, we look at more innovation and technology driven entrepreneurship, because incubation is given to those ideas that has the potential to become high growth companies, right? I'm not talking about successful companies. I'm talking about high growth companies. Can go to the next slide. So this entrepreneurship that we are talking about, the kind of entrepreneurship I'm talking about to create this high growth companies has two important engines. One is innovation and another is growth. When I say innovation, it has to be new, it has to be technology driven. When I say growth, it needs new markets, it needs markets, it needs funding. It's more venture, right? So we need angel investors, you would have heard about many of these terminologies. You need all of that, right? So here you need something new using technology. In the second engine, you need markets, expansion, and money, the venture growth that you need. So what goes inside is technology here, and what goes inside is venture funding there. Next. So what we do, what are those vital parameters that we are talking about, right? When we are looking at the innovation stage, we call it 2 stages in our incubation story. So you call it innovation, you call it pre-incubation, you call it incubation, you call it acceleration. It's essentially between these 2 stages. The first 2 stages is mostly the left part of it. The later stage of incubation and acceleration is the right part of the story, right? I'll get into the details of that. But what are those vital parameters we are talking about, right? Like the baby, we said there are certain vital parameters. So similarly, there are certain risks. What are those vital parameters? It's basically risk to the life of the baby that we are measuring. So what are those risks in a business idea that we are trying to incubate? These are the 4 major risks. The first 2 are at the innovation stage. The next 2 are at the growth stage, right? So these are the 4 risks. I have kept it more product based because that's the high growth enterprise we are talking about, right? So we are looking at customer risk and the product risk in the first stage. Then we are looking at market risk and the scalability risk in the second stage. So why do we need innovation in the first stage and pre-incubation is to ensure those vital parameters are right. Why do we need incubation and acceleration is to set the next 2 risks, mitigate these risks. So if you ask me, I'm sure there are management professors in the room. If you ask me what is incubation, what is business acceleration, we are doing risk mitigation. We can't do, our support is essentially to mitigate the risk. Without an incubation system, can someone come up with an idea and become an entrepreneur? Yes. Without an incubation also they can. An incubation is not necessary to create a startup or an entrepreneur or a high growth enterprise, not necessary, right? A set of people or an individual who has the grit to take his idea to the world will do that. And we have many examples around us. We don't, you would have met a lot more entrepreneurs who have never gone to an incubator rather than people who went to an incubator, right? So what should an incubation, innovation, or an acceleration support be given is essentially reduce their time and cost. That's the only benefit you should add. So it's as good as saying, why do you go, are only people who went to college having degree successful? Not necessary. But what is college giving? It is improving the possibility of failures, right? It is improving certain skills, competencies, and ensuring the success rate of many more, right? That's exactly what an incubator should also do. An innovation center should also do. It has to mitigate the risk so that they understand what are the risks, they are able to measure the risk, and there are support systems provided to mitigate those risks. So these are the larger risks that we go to. Next. So if you look at, we call this a process, right? It's more a process than a journey. From an idea to an enterprise, right? So when you have an idea, what is an idea? It's a solution to a need, right? There is a problem statement, and for that problem statement, you're coming up with a solution. That's your idea. So the second stage is, can you now test that idea? Because what is my first risk? Customer risk. I'm sure many of you who would have mentored students, who would have listened to ideas, if you have been doing that for at least 2 years now, you would have heard one idea 15 times. Yeah, thanks. So it's not about the idea, it's more about the execution, right? And no ideas can be copied. And even if it is getting copied, be more happy, let it be copied and let someone give life to it. Because people otherwise just die with ideas, right? So the most important or the critical part is prototyping that idea. Can you put a prototype? When I say a prototype, since I come from the engineering background, I'm talking more engineering technology. Is that a prototype I'm talking which will have a physical, electronics, Arduino board, robotics? No, I'm not meaning that. To me, a prototype helps customer experience the solution and say it is useful and put a price to it. So how much will you pay for this? If you ask me now, I may not pay a penny to this because I don't need it, right? Maybe after 3 hours of me speaking here, imagine I'll have to pay for it and I have the money. You put a price, I'll pay for it because I need it, right? So we look at ideas that the customer can experience and is able to tell what value. The price is generally not the cost of manufacturing plus price. It's basically, for these kind of general commodities, it is yes. But I'm talking about innovative products for which there is no alternative. That's why it's innovative. So how do I put a price to it? It cannot be cost plus profit. It has to be a value-based pricing, right? So prototype is essentially to test value and understand the pricing, the readiness of the acceptance of the customer, the commitment of the customer. How do you understand the commitment and acceptance of the customer? Is only through a check. Because let's be very clear, when we come to entrepreneurship, we are here to talk business. Impact will come. But if business profitability, sustainability is not spoken about and is considered as not the right thing, then you are not going to be successful scaling your impact. Every entrepreneur will be a social entrepreneur. But if you start with the social impact as the first outcome, not looking at profitability and sustainability, then we are not doing justice to supporting an idea to scale, right? So that has to be the first, as mentors and coaches for entrepreneurship, our first role should always look at how is it going to become profitable and sustainable. So the first step is to understand, is the customer valuing your solution and will he be ready to pay for it? And that's why a prototype, right? So you do it any format you want. There are very different case studies of how you can prototype different solutions. We may focus on industrial deep tech, but there are other ideas and startups that you can work on, and you can prototype your ideas in different ways. The third is productization, right? Now I have a prototype. So I may give her a prototype. She may like it. But maybe when I give you the same prototype, you may like it, but you want another feature. She may want another feature. She wants another feature. But I need to have a market, not one customer, right? So I may have to come to a certain understanding of a common product that I can create out of the prototypes that I have tested, right? And I should also ensure I will have the capability to manufacture or deliver that product, right? If you take the water bottle as a product, I need to have so many number of bottles, the caps. in a certain dimension, available, supply, distribution, all of that for the scale of operation. So that gives me the product stage, right? So I have to move to that stage. Then the fourth stage is, how do I ensure repeatability of this? So if I sell this to her, she pays me 15 rupees. How many numbers will she buy? Will she repeat purchase? Will people like her repeat my purchase? Will I have other alternate markets where I can do this business? Right? So I get into a repeatability and a regular revenue. So I actually get into finalizing my business model, business revenue streams, my partnerships, so that I can do what I'm trying to achieve in a very sustainable and a scalable way, right? So that's the business stage. Then the last one is the enterprise stage, where you have proven a business, there is sustainability, there is revenue, now you have to scale it, right? So look at the case study of Red Bus. Red Bus started between Bangalore, Hyderabad, right? It was a problem statement that young founder had. He couldn't buy, he bought a ticket, but his ticket was not honored. I'm sure many of you in this room, at least people of my age, understands before Red Bus, what was the procedure to buy tickets during festival seasons, right? We had to go stand in a queue, have brokers, have agents who used to give tickets, and there was no guarantee that your seat will be there for you. So he had such a situation, and when he went, he bought 3 times the fare and got a ticket, but when he showed up, there was somebody else on the seat. It was the Diwali night, and the boy couldn't go home for Diwali. So he said, looking around, how can I solve this problem? There are different ways he could have solved this problem, right? What are the other ways? Just imagine, go back to the 80s, where you didn't have an online booking. You had to go to a bus stop, book tickets. And he's an IT tech guy, right? He's a software guy. He's thinking about solving this problem. Look at what are the different ways. If you were in that situation, you can solve that problem. What would be your ideas? Red Bus vitrunga, and the idea marandrunga. If you are in that situation, what would be your idea for a business? Simple, regular ideas. Imagine you tell this to your student. What will they give you as ideas? You can have a bus, buy a bus and commute. It's a business. You give me money, I will buy a bus. I will do shuttle, I'll make money. You can do a business plan, a business model, revenue, everything can be presented. One idea. The second idea, sharing basis. So I will do the Uber for buses, which was not an idea, not an app, but more some kind of shared services, or do cars. You know, rather than buses, I pool cars, and I sell tickets at a premium, and I commute people. Okay, then I start my own booking agency. Some booking agency cheated me. So now I will create an authentic booking agency, XYZ agency in every part of Bangalore, and I will do a very regulated way of booking. I won't pay commissions. Ask commissions or pay commissions. I will keep a very clean. That's one idea. Okay, what else?
Putting the security check at the bus stop, only those will get the seat. At least ensuring that the money is got.
That may be a Gundaism idea. That's not a business idea, because I'm sure you haven't been to that bus stops. Because it's basically, you know, who runs those bus services and what kind of people manage this. So you can't run a security service. Yeah, maybe you can even, another idea could be even develop a software to do that. Have a software which will only sell 1 ticket per seat, so that repeated sales doesn't happen, and you sell only through the software, so that then you come and check if the ticket is the same ticket, and then you put them. So that's a good way of doing this. Okay, now you have the last idea, Red Bus, right? Which one is which idea will you invest in? If you had lot of money. இந்த எல்லா ஐடியாலையும் எந்த ஐடியாவில் இன்வெஸ்ட் பண்ணுவீங்க? ஏன்னா அது உங்கள் ஐடியா, அதில் நீங்கள் இன்வெஸ்ட் பண்ணுவீங்க. வெரி குட். Some of them may think bus idea is very good because he's buying a bus. I can see what he's doing with my money. I'll fund him the bus. But look at it, if he had bought a bus, Surya Vamsam, I mean, some of them may not know, but still that's one of its case where the bus will become 100 buses, 1000 buses, and over a duet song you will become a billionaire. Possibility. I'm not getting into that. If he is going to create a travel agency, how many centers he will have to open? Each center is cost. There is a cost of operation. Vadaga kudukano, salaries has to be given, rental has to be paid, operations has to be done, and you can't imagine all your centers will be profitable. Just imagine in Bangalore alone 15 centers. 5 may be very profitable, 10 may be average, or 2 may be even you're not able to even meet the cost of that own center. So again, expenses, revenue is very so when you're talking investment, how do you choose investment? Profitability, right? So some of them may choose investment through assets. That was the traditional way of thinking. So we'll fund assets that bank will fund. We don't need investors to fund. You can go to a bank, get a loan and drive buses, right? So in all of this idea, today look at Redbus, right? Imagine if Redbus has to expand in Malaysia. How much do you think it will cost the company? Malaysian market, so many people. Singapore market and Malaysian market, so many people will start using Redbus, right? And so much of transaction and business will happen through that portal. But what do you think will be the investment? Compare all your 5 ideas and compare the cost in expansion to a new market. Which is much? Redbus is much profitable. That is what I call it as a high growth company. That's what we put in a hockey stick curve in the finance for startups, saying at some point there is a pivot and the stick just goes up. We call it the hockey stick curve of the financial projections for a startup, right? So that happens in a startup idea. Okay, stepping back, did Redbus start like that with that kind of an idea? May not be. But they continuously mitigated many of these risks going through the process and came up with this idea, right? But I'm just giving this example because we at least know where is our destination, right? So that's what is that enterprise creation at last all about. But that cannot happen after all the 4 happens, because the core is innovation. After I buy 100 buses, I can't think about making it a Redbus, right? I can still, but it's a huge change I will have to make. But can we start working from the early stage? Because we are as faculty members, we are more in the early stage. We are not on the later stages of an idea. So if we understand this is the kind of ideas we want to generate, then we will be able to or help students or help teams to think at least from this direction. They may not get it when they are in college. They may start as a security or a software that can be used for issuing tickets and verifying tickets. They may start like that in campus. But at least can they have the knowledge and the way to have a direction towards that, so that at some point of time they will be able to think through that. Even if they don't do, they still will have a business, right? They may not go a They may not become an investable startup and a high growth enterprise, but they still will be able to, they can still become an Infosys, right? If not an Amazon. That's also still an enterprise and a business to run. But we need to understand whether we are going to make these ideas the Infosys of the world, or we are trying to make these ideas the Amazons of the world, the Googles of the world. We need to understand this different, because this needs certain kind of support and hand-holding, mentorship and support system. This needs a separate kind of hand-holding, mentoring and support system. We generally call this, the left side, the Infosys of the world, small businesses becoming large companies, right? On the right side, I call them startups becoming high-growth companies. So we classify startups and small businesses. Even you're starting a bus service, an agency service is still a business. But we call it a small business and we call this a startup, right? Most of our ideas will be on the left side. And it is good to start there, so that they first become a little entrepreneurial, they understand working with customers, giving some products, understanding solution. But if we can orient them saying, okay, this is your roadmap from a small business to a large company. But if you want to become a startup, raise angel investments, venture capital, then this is what is expected. And at some point of time, you should look at this kind of a direction. Rather than motivating these guys to raise angel investments, venture capital, they will come in as failures. Right? Next. So this is a big leap of faith. So what we do is, go to the next. I have a very long list of slides, but my every slide will be a word, that's all. Go to the next. So the most important part is this. So idea to prototype, a prototype to an enterprise. So can we break? And the first step is what we call innovations. The second is what we call enterprise creations or growth, or more entrepreneurship, right? And what we today advocate, or what we have been evangelizing, is, can academic institutions do part one in scale? In scale. What was the earlier model when we had EDCs is the part two was being provided to a few, right? Part one was assumed that it will happen, because we copied a Western model. In Western world, part one happens automatically as part of their education. They innovate ideas, they innovate projects, they innovate solutions. They learn what they want to learn. They come out with solutions themselves. So part one was not very structured within the system. It was more part two that people were worried about. But in India, part one is something we may have to do it at scale. All part one need not end up in part two. Even if part one 90% fail, they will become better employed individuals, because they've learnt by doing. They've got much more the world exposure than the other students. So innovation was made centric, and hence Institute Innovation Council, cells, and I'm sure many of the professors know EDC. Today we don't have it. It's more innovation and then incubation. Right? Next. So we say incubation has to provide 5 M's. The first is means. Next. The second is method. What I mean by means is the required support to innovate. Right? The physical infrastructure. If you need labs, you need equipments, you need prototyping To build a prototype and test, you may need certain resources, depending on the technology you are working on. It could be biotech, it could be chemical, it could be anything that you're working on. The second is a methodology, because it's a de-risking process, right? So for a risk mitigation, we can always, there's a science to it. So can we have a methodology? The third is mentors. Mentors, not free advisors. People who can give specific intervention where required, when required. And our role as the campus ambassadors or incubation leaders, or to identify what is required and who could be connected to them for their mentoring. Fourth most important thing is market. They need customers. They need, from the stage of innovation, from the stage of problem statement, they need customers, right? For prototyping, they need to know customers. To test the prototype, they need the customers. So from early stage, they need access to the market. The last, and purposefully the last, the money. If you don't have the first four, you are wasting your own tax money the government is giving as grant. So this is the 5 M's. We call it as what is the support system that an incubation provides. So what we do at Forge, we do innovation activation. I'm just sharing the way I do it in reality, whatever the science that I advocated, especially with students. I'm talking only about my student programs. I'm not getting into my incubation acceleration programs. So we do an extensive process. Just go to the next slide. So we do capacity building in academia. We do training of faculty members in our process, methodologies, means, so that they can become innovation mentors. Then we activate innovation. When we say we activate, we provide the students the science to innovate. We help curate problem statements so that there is a context for them to innovate, and we get everybody to innovate. Try it out. Creativity is not for the few. Creativity is there in each one of us. You just need to put it out and push them to get to do that. So we activate a lot of students, and then we select a selected number of students into our 1 semester program. So we do a 1 semester program in our facility where students from different colleges, essentially science and technology, because we are very focused on science and technology. So students from any branch of science and engineering and technology can come to this program. We teach them emerging technology skills, an interdisciplinary program. We don't mind which background they come from. We offer 21 credits as part of a semester to the college. It's a very institute integrated program. It's not an open program. So students, instead of doing a semester there, they come here, they do a semester. You can just go to the next. And when they graduate, they work on a problem statement, and they build a prototype, and they test the value during that semester. So that's a course, we call it ProtoSem. Our platform, where we curate a lot of problem statements from the local industry, from government, we call it a sandbox. You can skip. So there are a few tools and methodologies we use. It's a free download on my website, so you can take some of that and look into it. Next. So these are some of our activities. This is our innovation rubric, which helps us to assess what is the innovation, where it is, and what can be done so that they can mitigate risk. So I spoke about the risk in innovation, and this helps us to mitigate a lot of risk. The next. So I am sure many of you who have been active in IIC would have seen this. This is your POC evaluation rubric 2. So we used a scientific method for any idea. It's a download that you can take from my website. All the tools are available on the. Then we help them define the value, and for the value, define the features. We use this is a strategizer canvas This is not designed by Forge, the rest are designed by Forge. This is an international organization called Strategizer. So we use that canvas to help define the value proposition and the feature set. Next. Then we help them with certain methodologies to define the prototype. We look at more hardware prototypes. So we give them a tool to also select tools and technologies that they can do. So technically we also provide mentoring in helping them choose the tools and technologies. So that's what we do in that program. So this is, it's called ProtoSem, a semester for prototyping. This program was launched in 2017 when AICTE launched the student startup policy. And this was a design that we made and we offered to AICTE saying, if this could become a way that we can implement the AICTE startup policy. The chairman said, I don't know how many colleges will be capable of doing it. If you can take it up and do it, please do it. We have been doing it for the last 5 years now. We have graduated 10 batches from this program in the last 5 years, and very closely with AICTE. I mean, they continuously watch and mentor and support in many ways. Many of the SIHS winners has been sponsored by AICTE to do this program at Coimbatore. So this is how you will anyway visit the place. So I'm not sure if so many students are there today, but we will have some students who will be there in the lab. So it's a class in the lab where they learn technology and they also build solutions. So this is our principle, our mantra. Innovation for employability and skill enablement leads to entrepreneurship. So I don't go to any campus asking for students who want to do entrepreneurship. I go to campuses asking for students who want to innovate solutions. And we tell them innovate, build skills, become more employable. And by the way, and I have seen success in students who just came to innovate, but went and customers were ready to offer them orders, they wanted to procure the product, they understood the potential the market gives. So this becomes a real entrepreneurship enablement initiative rather than entrepreneurship evangelism or motivation. So I look at it as a way that we can enable them to make the decision, not motivate them, guide them, mentor them, rather than help them to make that decision to choose entrepreneurship as a career option. So it's an ecosystem activity. It's not an individual activity. So students, institutions, the industry has to come together. So we work as an ecosystem in providing this activity. So many higher educational institutions, large corporate, small companies, even government and students have come together for the success. So this is what we call it as an entrepreneurship ecosystem here. These are some of the solutions that students from different departments, from different institutions have built. I'll just rush through. You can just move, quickly move. If there has any questions, next. So it's a curriculum integrated program, 21 credits. The college gets to implement NEP. In practice. So it's NEP in practice 5 years before. It's interdisciplinary, it's hands-on, it's innovation-centric, it's problem-solving, it's class in the lab. So these are the current skills that we focus on. The students, when they graduate, also get a skill assessment so that they are much more employable. And the only thing that we tell them is, don't go to an interview with your mark sheets. All that you have as a graduate is a mark sheet. Can you go with a prototype in solving a problem that makes you differentially employable? And yeah, you can move. So these are some of the way we assess the students' marks, skill set, and this is their resume when they go for an interview across skill areas. Next. I think it's an old metric, but the next one. The last, now for engineering education, we offer a curriculum integrated 8-semester program. We do boot camps from the first semester And in the 5th or 6th semester, students do proto-sem. We recommend them to do it in the 3rd year so that their prototypes can get into certain logical conclusion in the next 1 year. So this is what we do in engineering education per se, and we are largely focused on engineering. We just started to work with polytechnic institutions in Tamil Nadu now. So that's what we do. And thank you. You have my mail ID, and I'm very active on LinkedIn. So if you wish to reach, if I can be of any support, we'll be happy to do that. So thank you. Wish you all the best. Few questions I can take and we can conclude. I think we can conclude the video session and we can have a casual interaction and close it. Thank you. I'm more a person who likes to walk around and not. We do this whole thing as a 5-day FDP.
What if the idea is innovative solution to a problem, but the market is limited? Like if in case it is a part of academia solution to the academy, but the market is limited.
Why are you limiting it? It depends on your solution. If you are looking at, it depends on the technology, right? If the technology has a possibility to expand markets, then you don't have to limit. Academia can be one of your markets. Just an example, one of our Bombay-based startup who works on virtual reality kit for training. He was selling it to colleges. Today he's building a see-through armor for the army tanks, the same virtual reality. The core technology still remains the same. It may not be the same exact packaged product.
Instead of giving the exact solution, only a limited.
So if you could look at, there could be in academia itself is a huge market. If I'm giving this, look at this as my product, right? I'm doing this now for engineering colleges. I can do this for polytechnic, which is my next project I'm taking up. I can do it for arts and science. I can do it for research institutions. I can do it for schools. The science still remains the same, the process still remains the same. I may have to modify certain aspects to my product, and I can deliver it.
Ma'am, you said simultaneously they could be working. Actually, this is framed for the college students. Am I right, ma'am? So how students?
They don't go to college. 21 credits I provide to college. We do a course mapping or a curriculum integration within the campuses.
Specifically for
Largely autonomous colleges. In engineering, we work with 3rd year. In arts and science also, I generally work with 3rd years. The final semester, they come for this.
Have you done for any arts and science?
Yes, we have had students from physics and electronics background. Only for science, not arts, because it's a complete engineering course. So students from arts may not be able to do much here. It will be 1 semester. In arts, if it is an autonomous institution, if you could consider them for that semester to be done here. Madam, the only question AICT chairman was open and okay with this. If colleges can send 1 semester abroad, why can't they send to an incubator next road? That's all. It's as simple as that. If your regulations and autonomy can be flexible, now it is more flexible. Earlier, at least you had a lot of restrictions. Today, I think it is much more, there's a lot more support given to many of these innovative. 5 years before when I started, I don't think anybody other than AICTE even looked at this as something possible, right? They just said, I think autonomous colleges can do, why don't you work with autonomous colleges and do it yourself? I can't do anything sitting out of AICTE because UG education is essentially the state universities. So that's the reply sir gave us. So we said, okay, we'll start with autonomous, and then even affiliated இங்க வருவாங்க, எக்ஸாம் மட்டும் போய் யூனிவர்சிட்டி எக்ஸாம் எழுதிட்டு வருவாங்க பசங்க. Those things also happen. That's outside the records, right? That also happens. So those kind of adjustments they do. But we prefer to do it in a formal way. If the college has the autonomy, then see, these kids work 14-16 hours because they are learning, they are also solving a problem, they are working with an industry who works, solves the problem, and they have to report back to the industry. So it's like an internship they are doing and also learning parallelly, right? And it is a very rigorous competitive environment for them. So the only benefit I ask for the students is no end semester exams, which is something they hate. So give them that autonomy. Tell them no end semester exams. Do your job really well, and I've seen them enjoy. But in some colleges, they haven't, especially with affiliated colleges in engineering. So currently I'm working with Anna University to make the change. So hopefully, I'm not very sure. In the last 5 years, we have been nudging, and now I see some progress there, but still I'm not very sure. Until things come on paper, I can't, it's been progressive, but I'm not very sure how much it is going to become real. See, commerce college, for this program, no.
But if it's a tech-based solution,
Deep tech-based solution, see, my courses are more engineering courses, right? They have to learn electronics, they have to learn IoT, robotics. I'm not sure if the kids would be interested to. I'm open.
we have a BCom in financial technology. So those students can
Fintech. See, the thing is not to this course, but we can have a course for that. This is a model. We can always create a model like this, where we can look at more software, and fintech is a very good theme where we can recreate a model like this. Not the exact curriculum, but that's what I said. It can be modified and created another curriculum. The process still remains the same. Any of those kind of courses can be, programs can be created.
So it is not for basically average commerce, this any kind of.
It's not about average, it's about the subjects. It's not about, it's essentially, currently the model I have, the curriculum I have, it is more mapped to engineering. And it can be supported to science. So mathematics, physics, students will be able to cope up if they have an interest. For maths, this will be, I've been trying to bring maths students into this class because they'll add a lot of value to this course. But we need a little outliers to even take this kind of mathematics, physics, electronics, computer science, UG courses. I don't find any difference. They are as good as engineering, and many of the solutions will be physics. Many of the engineering solutions, the fundamental is physics. If you looked at, there was one QC monitoring system. It's basically a light reflection is the innovation there. And the IoT, it's only an enabler. Actual core innovation and the patent is for light reflection, which is a physics, this thing. It was built by an engineering student, but the core innovation is physics. So that can happen from the science. So I have no challenges with science. With commerce, for this particular course, no. This particular course cannot, but this model can be. See, what is the model? One full semester to take up a problem statement and build a product. And look at the skills, competencies they need to build that product and put it as a curriculum.
If we do it, then the center can be established in the college premise or in Mumbai, or the student need to travel for this.
You should do it in Mumbai. Why they travel here? It can be in your own campus, and you can open it up to campuses outside too. If you want to do it as a common facility outside, that is also possible. Or if you want to do it within the campus and open it even to outsiders. See, you can establish a fintech innovation lab, right? And what this program basically gives you is every semester there will be a batch of students attempting to do it, and if some real startups also wants to come from the local ecosystem and utilize this facility, they can come. That could be an interesting model to work.
And how do you choose students for this now?
We run a hackathon and we select them. We basically run a hackathon, so there's nothing to do with their marks. So we watch them work, we watch them engage with team, we watch them learn and solve problems in the 3-4 days, and through that we select 60.
They can be of any department. It's not
Yes.
necessarily one-to-one.
No, it has to be interdisciplinary. So I actually mix match the students when they work on teams. Even engineering students, different departments work together. Good. I think, thank you. Stay in touch. I hope you will have a great stay here and a lot more of learning. If there are any specific questions, you can text me in. No problem. You can sit there. So, wishing you all the very best. I think entrepreneurship is, to me, is not the end of it all. Look at it as a means so that every student in our campus could actually become entrepreneurial. We are living, pandemic has only given us more context to the world of uncertainty, right? And to live in a world of uncertainty and to deal with unknowns and unknowns, only an entrepreneur can do, right? He may be working in a company or he may be starting his own company, but there should be an entrepreneur in him to deal with the world of uncertainty. So I believe innovation and entrepreneurship education is a must for it's a skill that every student should possess, a mindset that the attitude and skill that they will have to possess so that